You know, Roy and I have an inherent love for green and sustainable living. So we're pretty darn lucky that we get to bring that into our daily work through green building. Over the years, we've noticed that it isn't always easy to sell green building. But what we were thinking is, what if we didn't think of it as green building, but just building right? A few of us have talked about that tonight. What if we just integrated and innovated and brought our best tricks to the table every time? Then green building will just happen. It will. This story starts with a married couple, Will and Yuki, who moved into their 100-year-old craftsman home with their 2 small children in Ravenna. Fast forward 10 years, and those 2 small children are now growing tweens, still sharing a very small craftsman bedroom, less and less successfully every year. Yuki has started a home-based business where she is refinishing mid-century furniture, and there is furniture in every nook and cranny of the home. Okay, it wasn't quite this bad. This is a Google photo. We didn't actually get a photo of it. But they were bursting at the seams, and they were desperate to find a new solution. So we had worked with them before, and they called us, and they said, hey, we're thinking about building a pass-through bedroom in our attic space. We also want to get a little seating area and have a little small rooftop deck to capture views of Mount Rainier. And we looked around the space, and we thought, this just isn't going to work. And so enters our design team.
So we were initially hopeful that a full second-story addition could fulfill more of the French's requirements. But ultimately, it was going to require demolishing many of the 100-year-old details that make the house so wonderful, just to add the structural support for the second floor. It felt like a real setback. So now what? And then we started thinking literally outside the box. And we asked Will and Yuki, what if we build a DADU? The acronym stands for Detached Accessory Dwelling Unit, or in English, a backyard cottage. This DADU would allow Yuki and Will to rearrange their home to give both of their kids, Alex and Erica, their own rooms, while creating a multifunctional, flexible space that they could use for decades to come in the backyard. And to everyone's shock, Will and Yuki said, let's do it. Now that we had our big idea, there were many constraints we had to overcome. When researching the land use and DADU code, we found that on this lot, we could only have a footprint of 340 square feet, a little smaller than this screen. And in that...
True.
And in that, we had to fit all of those functions, as well as achieve a height to get a view of Mount Rainier. So this is what we came up with. We set the DADU in the far northeast corner of the lot, and to maximize the space between it and the existing home, as well as making room for as much southern light and passive heat as possible. We dug deep into the DADU code and found that limits on square footage only apply above grade, allowing us to add a lower floor to our design. We also added a sunken patio, which transformed the basement into a wonderfully lit workshop and convertible bedroom with a 3/4 bath, laundry, and storage space. That left the main level open to accommodate a living room, dining space, kitchen, and a flexible showroom. A final criteria remained, which was to design a loft for reflection, slumber parties, and gatherings. And accessibility was the trick to the loft design. But we'll talk a little more later on about our solution to getting people up there.
Will and Yuki never said to us, build us a super efficient building. That said, sustainable solutions is a primary feature that Living Shelter and Mighty House bring to all of their projects. Sometimes we are able to deep dive further than others, given scope and budget, but with this project we had a lot of fun. One of our baseline systems is using for additions and new builds, is using a super efficient, cost-effective, and easy to install smart wall system and make minor modifications as needed given the project. It can be broken down into 3 tactics: barriers, insulators, and HVAC. For the barriers, we used Mento. No, Roy, not Mentos. Mento. And Intello for their vapor smart and air tightness features. For insulators, we used a 2-in-1 product of insulated glass gravel called Glavel. It saved us both time and material procurement for the foundation fill and insulation. We used insulated concrete forms for the foundation walls to save us square footage space, sheep's wool in the walls, and wood fiberboard called Gutex on the exterior of the walls and the roof, far exceeding code and substantially reducing the embodied carbon of the project. For HVAC, we used the Lunos through-wall passive heat recovery ventilators with a heat exchanger built in, which allows them to use the waste heat to pre-warm the fresh air coming in, and used infrared radiant ceiling panels for heat. Since we had such a small heat load for the small and super efficient space, and cooling was presumably not necessary, we thought the infrared panels were the perfect solution to provide efficient, effective, and cozy heat without complicated infrastructure or extraneous big holes through our fabulous walls. We're curious as to whether the modeling of this project will meet real-world expectations, and we've set up a year-long monitoring of the dwelling. So stay tuned next year.
There are many design features that we'll be geeking out about tomorrow during our presentation at the summit, which you should all attend, such as all of the sustainably produced materials and finishes that contributed to the low VOC, healthy indoor air quality. But one feature that stands out most, both visually and functionally, is the stair to the loft. As in many backyard cottages, getting to the loft area in a safe, effective, and beautiful manner can be tricky. By figuring out how to get a 3rd story into our dadu, we created a problem for ourselves. We didn't want to use valuable real estate to get the 2nd stair run up to the loft. So we thought, why not design a stair that can move out of the way when you're not using it? So I designed and Mighty House built a counterweight-driven foldable staircase. Built out of fir and cherry, the heavy object seems to float as you move it through the air. The clarity of design and superb craft really paid off. Here's a short clip to show you how it works.
When I saw this idea, I thought it was bleepity bleep cool. It took a bit more labor and a little more love than we originally anticipated to bring this from the virtual world to real life, but its functionality and aesthetic were totally worth it. Will said in an email to us recently that his dadu feels like a movie star, and it kind of is. Not only has it achieved the highest scoring Built Green 4-star dadu to date, it may also be reportedly Seattle's first carbon negative dadu. That means that, like a tree, this dadu is reducing carbon rather than producing it over the lifetime of the building. It's a big claim, and we'll be we've covered some of the how we got there this evening, but we'll dive much deeper into the details tomorrow during the summit. Truth be told, we didn't set out for either of those aspirations. We just set out to build their dadu right. And when you have a team that has an integrated focus on building sustainably, who is constantly innovating to find the right solution, and isn't thinking about how to sell green, but rather just building healthfully, efficiently, and effectively, green building can just happen. It does. Thank you.
Let's hear it for the Frenches and the Built team.